My topic is Design for Public Toilets, Challenges and Contribution to the Re-establishment of Public Value. In fact, the public toilet is not a traditional design topic. Very few of the designers or even architects will talk about this topic in public. However, in China, in the current stage, the toilet more and more become a research topic. In the past 4 decades, there were 4 toilet revolutions in China. Now, basically, the work focus on the rural area and the tourism destination. However, in China, the historic center of Beijing is much more complex than the mainstream. Beijing, as the capital of China, actually is the cultural and the political center of the whole country. With the history of 3,000 years, now is still preserved a part of the traditional lifestyle. We can see from the map there are still some parts of hutung exist in Beijing, and because of the very complex ownership of the land property in this area, there is no sewage system so far. Therefore, almost all of the residents will rely on the public toilets for their everyday life. In the historic center area, the courtyard may be shared by 10 families or even more. We can check out how many families with the electricity meter box. That means frankly speaking, with the highest price of the land in the country, the local residents lives with a very low condition, even poorer than some undeveloped rural area. Commissioned by the sanitation department of the municipal, the design team helped them to propose the integrated solution of the public toilet, including the technology selection, the space design, the architecture design, the facility design, etc. We can see some images of the previous public toilets. For example, people can see the users in the toilets from the street, and in some small public toilets there is no interior shelter, and the user will expose to each other totally. And in some toilets, you have to get on 3 steps to use it. That means it's almost impossible for the elderly or even disabled to use. In this extremely restricted condition, the design team proposed In this extremely restricted situation, the design team tried the best to make it functional as well as providing service with dignity. For example, to the for example in this extremely restricted condition, the design team tried the best to propose an inclusive design. The ventilation system, the lighting system, the warming system are combined in the whole system. Some basic equipment, for example, the facilities for elderly, the wash basin are equipped, and even they introduced a special device for this special condition, a wash basin for the urinal, because the local residents need to use a temporary urinal during the evening, and they need to dump out the waste every morning. In the process of the design of the public toilets, the sanitation department found they are confronting the huge pressure of the public, even though there is no tradition of the administrative system to face the end users in the past. Now, with the support and the diffusion of internet technology, every ordinary citizen can express their own opinion to the public service and make it to be a pleasure to the public sector. So, besides the design solution of the public toilet itself, we were commissioned of the responsibility of public communication by the sanitation department. We defined the public communication in different stages: before the design, during the design, and after the construction of the toilets. Before the design process, we tried to organize some meeting group and face-to-face interviews to the local residents to understand their real needs. For example, whether they prefer sit or squat in the public toilets, whether it's necessary to provide wash basin in the very small toilet. And in the process of design, we try to explain what we will do for the design. For example, how the ventilation system works, and with which technology we control the smell, and whether we can balance the privacy and the space. After the construction of the public toilets, we try to understand the user experience of the new toilets, whether there is any possibility for us to improve in the next stage work, or whether there is anything we missed, especially for some no. So different tools were created and diffused in different communities. In the process of in-depth investigation in this area, we found the complexity of the challenge is sometimes beyond the understanding of the public sector itself. For example, this area actually now is a combination of a residential area, the historic monuments, and the commercial zone. In some specific areas, the tourists is much more than the local residents, and the it and they will make make the scale public resource more scale. Therefore, how to balance the demands of the local residents and the outside tourists or even passengers is also a big question. Besides the tourists, there is another group sometimes ignored by the public. They are the janitors of the public toilets. Sometimes they will live in a public toilet in order to maintain that in order to maintain the work. After the reconstruction of the toilets, the interior space and the condition of the living space of the janitors sometimes would be even better than the residents. Therefore, how to make the balance of the therefore how to make it modest and make it harmony with the community. Quite a delicate question. Our solution is to make all of the facility plan simple, functional, and low in the environment. In this project, actually we found that the relationship, rather than the toilet itself, would be the fundamental and difficult question to be answered. The relationship between the residents and the tourists, the relationship between the residents and the janitors, between the residents and the public sectors, between the users and designers. All these different relationships need to be dealt with based on the understanding of this question. Actually, the main question is the isolation of the different groups. That means there is no connection between the residents and the tourists, the residents and the janitors, the users and the public sectors. Therefore, we propose the work to target the connecting, to connecting the different interest group and make it a beginning to interact with each other. So in the next stage, we will we will organize different exhibitions in different areas. Some will be diffused in the community centers. Some will be thematic exhibitions in the public space. We try to make this to be to be uh, to be begin of social interaction. In fact, from user-centered design to community-based design, we found we are facing the question of design for public. Design for public actually need a new philosophy, the philosophy of public. Even though in China and in West, more and more philosophers are talking about the philosophy of public, but we still have no clue to follow. And actually, being an active role, we designers can take part into the process of exploring the new idea with our own